Greetings, everyone. My name is Janet Protasewicz. I am a 1988 graduate of the law school, a Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge, and president of the Law School Alumni Association. I would like to welcome each of you to Marquette Law School's annual Alumni Awards ceremony. This ceremony takes place in the best law school building in the country, Eckstein Hall. This is truly a special evening, and we are honored that you are joining us at this gathering, which recognizes the wonderful service and renowned professionalism of Marquette lawyers. The individuals being honored tonight have responded to the call to do more, not only in their legal careers, but also in their aspirations to do more for others. At Marquette, we say, be the difference. And these proud individuals are doing just that. They give meaning to the phrase, Marquette lawyer. As we listen to their stories, let us consider our careers and what more we can do in our communities. Each year I attend this event, I am truly inspired. Before we start, please make sure your cell phones are off or on vibrate. And now it is my great honor and pleasure to ask Joseph D. Kearney, Dean of Marquette's Law School, to the podium. We are very privileged to have him leading our law school since 2003. He is one of the longest-serving law school deans in the country, and he is only the 9th person to hold this position at Marquette University. Please join me in welcoming him with a round of applause.
Thank you, Judge Protasewicz, and good evening, everyone. I want to begin by joining in welcoming all of you to this most special annual event. The importance to us of our alumni, the community of Marquette lawyers, exceeds estimation. The biggest reason is found in their, or your, being models and inspirations. Looking at the contributions that Marquette lawyers make to the profession and beyond is how we in Eckstein Hall know that our work today will have been important tomorrow, indeed decades hence. So each year we celebrate the accomplishments of all our alumni and the ideal of the Marquette lawyer by presenting awards to a small group of individuals who have helped exemplify our best traditions and aspirations. As we begin the event, I want especially to welcome the law students who are here. Various students are among the guests this evening, even as they anticipate next week's end-of-year exams. I am grateful for their interest and support. More specifically, I want to announce and introduce the recipient of the law school's Ralph J. Heuris Law School Citizen Award. This annual award remembers the late Ralph Heuris, class of 1941, and is underwritten by the Heuris Foundation, led by Ralph's law partner, Bill Farrell, of the class of 1968. The Ralph J. Heuris Law School Citizen Award is a scholarship given to a rising 2L student for his second or third year of study at Marquette Law School. It seeks to recognize someone who adds to the spirit of the law school, demonstrating a broad spectrum of qualities, including professionalism, a willingness to help fellow students, and involvement in the law school and broader community, and other indicia of the Marquette University mission. The selection is ultimately made by current first-year students. I am delighted to announce that the 2018 recipient of the Ralph J. Heuris Law School Citizen Award is Charles Bowen. let me tell you just a bit about Charlie. Charlie is a native of New London, Wisconsin. He served for 5 years in the Marine Corps before graduating from the University of Notre Dame. That is background. More relevantly here, Charlie was selected by his peers for his positive effect on the Marquette University Law School community during these early months of his entry into the profession. In ways formal and informal over the course of the year, Charlie has impressed the faculty and his peers alike with his professionalism, volunteer spirit in the Marquette Volunteer Legal Clinic, among other initiatives here, and several other ways, including his personal warmth. My interest tonight, in addition to announcing the award, is to commend Charlie, as well as the other finalists for the Hearus Award, Kylie Kaltenberg and Kelsey McCarthy, who will receive partial scholarships next year, and indeed to thank all of our students for all that they do in helping us to build Marquette University Law School, both for the sake of our own community and the profession and society more generally. You impress us. Thank you, Charlie. So let's turn our focus more squarely to the Marquette lawyers sitting behind me, our award recipients, as selected by our alumni associations. I will begin with the Sports Law Alumna of the Year. We present this year's Charles W. Mentkowski Award, as it is called, to Jessica Kumke of our class of 2008. Jessica is an example of how Marquette Law School enriches its community by attracting to our city talented people from elsewhere. This is something that great universities do. Jessica is a native of Nebraska and graduated from the State's University in 2005. She matriculated here at Marquette Law School and was an active participant in the sports law program, receiving both her JD and our National Sports Law Institute certificate in 2008. Her activities in the program included an internship at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee's athletic department. I will come back to that. Jessica thought that she could live elsewhere upon graduation, and she did, taking an opportunity at the University of Wyoming as Director of Compliance in Athletics. Perhaps missing us, or Milwaukee, and in any event, so that she might accept the professional challenge and opportunity, Jessica came back here, recruited by another great university. She joined UWM in 2013. A recent promotion has made her Associate Athletics Director with responsibility for compliance and enrollment services. Jessica's duties encompass NCAA and Horizon League compliance for all 15 sports. This includes monitoring and recruiting activities for all coaches and staff, certifying eligibility for all student athletes, overseeing and managing the athletic scholarship budget, and educating student athletes, coaches, staff, faculty, and, not least I imagine, boosters about NCAA rules. These are impressive professional obligations and accomplishments, and UWM is another great university, as I have said. But what about us? Be assured that in the midst of a very demanding set of duties, Jessica has worked to advance Marquette Law School, especially by helping her successors as our sports law students. As a Marquette lawyer, Jessica frequently has hired alums in athletics, created several internships for our students, judged various student competitions here, sat on seminar and career panels, supported recruiting events, and been a visitor to our classrooms. In short, as Professor Paul Anderson put it to me, she has supported the sports law program extensively and in every way possible. He concludes that Jessica is a perfect recipient for the award. I very much agree. Jessica, would you please stand up here as I conclude? Jessica, you are a resource for the directors of our sports law program, a model and mentor for students in the program, and a prominent example of how the sports law program like Marquette University Law School more generally, helps prepare students and helps students prepare themselves for professional excellence and success. On behalf of both UWM and Marquette University, we apologize to Nebraska and Wyoming for having stolen you and your talents away, but only a little bit. Jessica, it is a great privilege for us to present you with the Charles W. Mentkowski Sports Law Alumna of the Year Award. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much, first off, for those words. After hearing you list off everything I do, I should probably ask for a raise. That was a lot. But I want to thank the awards committee for recognizing me with this honor. And specifically, I want to recognize Paul Anderson. I wouldn't be up here without him. He pushed me a lot in law school, encouraged me to do the things I didn't think I really could do, and I definitely would not be up here without him. His support meant everything to me and is part of the reason that I give back to the program now. It's kind of nice to be the one now being able to give that assistance to other students in any way I can. So I want to thank him for that. And I want to thank my family who are here tonight, my mom and dad, brother and sister-in-law, the niece and nephew, and my Aunt Virginia, who made the 11-hour drive from Nebraska to be here with a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. So yes, that deserves some applause. You guys have also always supported me with everything, even if it meant moving from the town of 400 people in rural Nebraska to the big city of Milwaukee. And I appreciate everything that you guys have done. And yes, you moved me 2 times up here, once for law school, then moved me back again. But I appreciate everything and just want to thank you for all of your support. Thanks.
Thank you, Jessica. Our second award is the Howard B. Eisenberg Service Award. It is presented this year to Julie Darnieder of our class of 1978. It is not too much to say that Julie has changed Marquette Law School and that, for this generation of students, she has helped to redefine what it means to be a Marquette lawyer. Those are strong claims, but I will prove them. Let me make clear at the outset that I'm going to talk only about Marquette Law School. Julie's service work is extensive otherwise also, both in one-on-one relationships and with such other important entities as St. Joan Antietam High School and St. Robert's Parish. It probably was always so, but one of her nominators wrote that, quote, "Since Julie retired as a practicing attorney, it has become impossible to reach her because of all the volunteer work that she does." In case you did not notice, the word retired in that nominator's letters was in what are sometimes called sneer quotes for the notion of Julie as having retired as a practicing attorney. It is to laugh. It is true that Julie left the private practice of law in 2001. The purpose, though, was to develop the Marquette Volunteer Legal Clinic, which had been newly formed, into a substantial agency serving underrepresented clients with their legal needs. Of course, to say newly formed in the passive voice is a bit of a misdirection. It was Julie, together with a very small handful of other lawyers, who did the forming. Truly, it was a modest beginning, a single site, but it has grown substantially into multiple locations. The House of Peace at 17th and Walnut, the Milwaukee Justice Center at the Milwaukee County Courthouse, the United Community Center on the south side, the Veterans Service Office on the west side, and wherever the mobile legal clinic, the Justice Bus that is, happens to be located at any given time. Indeed, for those more flexible than I, the C in the MVLC name no longer stands for clinic, but rather the plural clinics. Well more than 20,000 individuals have received help from the MVLC since its, or their, establishment, and it is an important part of civil society in this region. This instrumental value alone would warrant recognition of Julie, A social services agency should count as its primary value the benefit to the people whom it directly serves. But, to my mind, it is the way the MVLC works, and this was part of its original design, that warrants my claims about its having transformed the student experience and education here. The MVLC has hundreds of attorney volunteers each year, both Marquette and non-Marquette lawyers. Every one of them is paired with a volunteer Marquette law student. The law student participates in the conversation with the clients and in the representation. He or she works side by side, shoulder to shoulder, with the experienced attorney volunteers. Is there any doubt that in the process, the student becomes imbued with a strong sense that the proper office of the attorney in our society includes providing legal services to those unable to afford them? That there is no doubt, and the number of students so imbued can be seen in the way the MVLC's work has captured the imagination and attention of our students. Some further evidence will be available, and all of you are welcome to join us, as I am sure Julie will do, tomorrow afternoon at 4 p.m., when another 100 or so students are inducted into the Pro Bono Society at a ceremony in the Lubar Center, right behind me. How especially wonderful it is that these students performed many of these hours of service either with Julie or with lawyers who, when students themselves, had grown under Julie's tutelage. Julie, would you please come to the center of the stage? Julie, when I speak to students each year at graduation, I tell them, in part, that among the greatest things that you could do for Marquette Law School in the future is redefining, really enriching further the term Marquette lawyer for your generation. When I do this each year, I think of two people, Howard Eisenberg, for whom this award is named, and you, Julie Darnieder. Thank you for all that you have done to embody and promote the spirit and values of the late Dean Howard Eisenberg and of the Marquette lawyer more generally. Congratulations.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Janet. This is such a great event. Mark and I have been coming to this event for years, and we just love coming to hear about the wonderful things that Marquette lawyers have accomplished and who are doing such great things, like Jessica, Bill, and Jim. Congratulations to all of you. The last time I was on this stage for this event was in 2002 when I was acting as Judge Protasiewicz, as president of the Law Alumni Board. And I was with Howard Eisenberg, and it was one of the last times I was with him. He died shortly after that. I was truly fortunate to have worked with him. We launched our efforts for the clinic with his blessings. And to be receiving this award in his name means so very much to me. All along the way, it has been a group effort, a village, if you will, if you'll permit me to use that, from the initial group who invented this wheel, and that's what it felt like much of the time, many of whom are still engaged, to the support of acting Dean Janine Geske, who I think is here somewhere this evening, and now Dean Kearney. To our community partners who have embraced us, to the volunteer lawyers who never had to be recruited, have stepped up always, to the clients who trusted us with some of their great challenges. And finally, to our truly awesome students who have embraced this project for the past 16 years, many of whom are now on our attorney roster and continuing to serve. I would like to think that in some way we have contributed to their making as Marquette lawyers. I am so proud of what this has become, thanks in large part to Dean Kearney's strategic vision and fully embracing the clinic And our law school staff, Angela, Katie, Mindy, and others, have advanced our efforts in just amazing ways. Now, I was told I had 1 minute. I know I've already exceeded that. I would love to name everybody who has contributed, especially the members of the original steering committee and the members of the advisory board now, but I'm afraid the orchestra is going to start up any minute. But I do have to recognize some very important people to me. First and foremost, my husband, Mark Darnieder, fellow classmate from class of 78. My favorite clinic volunteer. My 3 children are all here with their spouses and our 4 grandchildren, Bridget and Kevin Malone with Grace, Andrew, and May Malone, Amy and Justin Watzka with Evelyn, all the way from Lake Tahoe, California, and Mark Darnieder Jr., member of the class of 2013, and guess what? He volunteered as a student and now as a lawyer, and his wife, Maura Darnieder. One of my sisters, Karen Sokol, and her husband is here representing my extended family. 2 of our children's in-laws are here, the Malones and the Parnitskis. I could not be more blessed with family, with friends, many of whom are celebrating with us this evening. Our classmates, our fabulous classmates from the class of 1978, and my colleagues in the law. Thank you very much for this honor.
Thank you, Julie. It is an honor to present our Lifetime Achievement Award this year to Bill McEssy of our class of 1964. Certainly a primary calling card for this award must be the recipient's professional accomplishments. In Bill's case, first, as with most of our alumni, in the practice of law up in Fond du Lac, and second, more unusually, as one of the largest franchisees of McDonald's restaurants in the country. These efforts together have spanned more than a half-century. Let me say this about the McDonald's restaurants. To use a nice bit of understatement by one of Bill's nominators, quote, McDonald's just does not award 47 franchises to anyone. In fact, to sharpen the point, McDonald's strongly prefers that no one have that number of franchises for a variety of corporate reasons. Yet the company has other interests as well with respect to its franchises: quality control, engagement in the community, and overall excellence of service high among them. Suffice it to say that Bill and his team so overachieved in all of these other respects that it got to the point that, whatever its general policies or preferences, McDonald's would entreat Bill to purchase new or existing franchises. So confident and eager had it become to draw on his extraordinary abilities. An accomplishment such as this and the community connections and service engendered by it might well merit recognition. Anyone familiar with the careers of Marquette lawyers, such as Ray Eckstein, will have a sense of some of our alumni's impressive accomplishments in the world of commerce beyond the legal profession. And Bill has pursued other business interests that have greatly redounded to the benefit of local communities. It is Bill, for example, who led the reopening of Lake Lawn Lodge a few years ago, and with it, the restoration of scores and scores of jobs in the Delavan Lake or Lake Geneva area. I am personally aware that the creation of jobs in the community was a considerable part of Bill's motivation. So Bill has excelled in the world of commerce, to the great benefit of many. Yet it is what else Bill McEssy has done that has especially impressed many of us. I want to focus on his service to the Catholic Church. Some of this, without doubt, has been financial. In particular, Bill's support of the University of St. Mary of the Lake, the nation's largest seminary, just outside Chicago, has led the way in updating the most elegant campus, built in the 1920s by Chicago's Archbishop George Mundelein. Father Wild, who is here this evening, as always, and I had the occasion to stroll around the grounds, including the McEssy Theological Resource Center or Library, some years ago when we were planning or hoping for our own building project. It was inspiring, not simply for the architectural beauty, but the way in which the library was designed to draw in the students, the seminarians, and both help them learn things and foster a greater sense of community. Far less visible to most people, but even more important, has been Bill's leadership of the Board of Advisors or Directors for the seminary, University of St. Mary the Lake, that is. I have observed much of this, somewhat from afar, but closer than most. Bill's leadership, his push to ensure that the university is both serving its sacred purposes and still making its way through a secular world, has been masterful. In this regard, I hope that it does not scandalize anyone here when I say that the church sometimes involves politics, political interests, in a broad sense, even factions. I mean this as no criticism. How could it be otherwise for a largely human endeavor? But it does mean that to lead the board has required an unusual combination of respect for one's colleagues, directness of manner, and deftness of touch. Bill is that combination. Bill, would you please come up here? Bill, through your accomplishments in business, your service to the church, your encouragement and support of developments at Marquette Law School over the past decade and a half, and in numerous other ways, many of them quiet and unassuming, you have embodied Marquette University's mission of excellence, faith, leadership, and service. It is a great privilege for us to ask you to accept Marquette University Law School's Lifetime Achievement Award.
Joe, you read that just the way I wrote it. Thank you. You know, I've got 1 minute, but I borrowed a minute each from these two judges, so I got 3. But, you know, I appreciate this award very much, and needless to say, whether it's deserved or not, I'm taking it. But, you know, after listening to that, you wondered how I ever practiced law, but I did practice law for 16 years in Fond du Lac. My dad was a judge there for 34 years, and to show you how old I am, he played for the Marquette football team and was the captain in 1934. I'm probably the oldest guy in the room here, so. But it's been a treat to be involved with Marquette, and especially with Joe Kearney. He and I have become friends, and I remember when Joe, I'm not going to talk about my career, but I remember when I first met Joe. Now I'm putting you on the spot. He came up to see me in my office in Lake Forest, and this is when he first became the dean. And 2 guys came up the stairs and were in the waiting room, and I came out, and I said, well, where's the dean? And they said, well, he's the dean, the guy that was, no, I said, the dean of the law school. Where's the dean of the law school? And I thought these were 2 front men, and they were waiting for the main guy to come up the stairs. And I said, come on, I haven't got that. When does the dean get here? I am the dean, he said. Well, he was what, Joe? 30, I don't know how old. How old were you when you took over? 38. I thought it was a member of a student at the law school that they wanted to impress me. Here's the kind of individual we have going to the law school. But at any rate, Joe and I became good friends after that, and another occasion I met him, and he said, Bill, I think we're going to build a new law school, Sensenbrenner. My dad went to Sensenbrenner. That was the name of the school, the building. I went to Sensenbrenner, and I said, well, I, for one, will tell you, I think it's about time. And Joe said, I think we can get this off dead center. He says, I think we can get this done in 3 years. I said, Joe, have another drink here. But this is what Joe and the rest of the faculty and the donors, I don't know if there's a more beautiful law school in the country. It just is outstanding. And so instead of complimenting me, Joe, I want to compliment Joe and his team. Putting a building together like this is not easy. Take it from me. I'm going to finish because I'll have to take 2 more minutes from you. But, you know, when I got this, I was having lunch with Joe, and he told me that I was going to get this Lifetime Achievement Award. And I said, wow. I said, Joe, I'm not retired. This Lifetime Achievement Award sounds like it's over. Move over, get out. You've done good. You're 70-some years old. Move on. And I said, Joe, do I have to retire to get this, or can I? So my point is, I still am involved with McDonald's. I used to have even stores in Milwaukee for a while, 2 or I think 3 in Milwaukee. But I go all the way to Lake Geneva and into Illinois, et cetera. But I am slowly getting smaller because the clock keeps going on. But I'm still actively involved in businesses and McDonald's, et cetera. So I said, Joel, I'll accept the award if I don't have to retire, because I feel like when you get a lifetime achievement, you're trying to tell me to get out of the way. It's time for somebody else. But I'm not getting out of the way. And Joe, I hopefully, I'm going to write this book everyone talks about, but it's going to take me another 10 years before I get that done. So Joe, I'll come back in another 10 years, and hopefully you save me another chance to get another Lifetime Achievement Award. Well, at any rate, my wife thanks you. My daughter, Sherry, who graduated up here, she graduated from Marquette Nursing School. She thanks you. My mother thanks you. My father thanks you. And I humbly thank you and really appreciate this award.
Thank you, Bill. I don't get the comment so often any longer that you're too young to be dean of the law school, so I appreciate it. Our final award this evening is that for the Alumnus of the Year, or this year, unusually, but not unprecedentedly, the Alumni of the Year. For there are 2 awards to federal judges William Griesbach and Jim Wynn. They are classmates, but their stories are distinct. I begin with Judge Griesbach. Bill Griesbach is the Chief Judge of the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Wisconsin. He is a Marquette lawyer of the old sort, a 3M'er, graduating from Marquette High, Marquette University with a BA, and Marquette Law School. His career began with a clerkship on the Wisconsin Supreme Court for Chief Justice Bruce Bylfus, and service as a staff attorney at the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 7th Circuit. There followed 5 years in private practice, more years than that as an assistant district attorney in his adoptive Green Bay, and service as a judge in Brown County before his appointment by President George W. Bush to the federal bench in 2002. In short, Bill Griesbach has worked at the heart of the legal profession in the courts his entire career. Quite apart from his being chief judge, Bill Griesbach has the deep respect of everyone associated with that court, judges, lawyers, even litigants, some half of whom he has necessarily to disappoint. His intelligence and thoughtfulness, his careful preparation and modesty, his thoroughness and indifference to political interests, all of these and his other qualities help set the tone for our local federal district court. These things are important. The old saying goes, there is no more powerful person in the United States than a federal district judge sitting alone in his courtroom. How important then it is for us to have men and women on the bench with qualities such as those I have described in Judge Griesbach. Even in the midst of a crowded docket, Judge Griesbach is interested in what I might term larger things. For example, he is a member of the James Wilson Institute on Natural Rights and the American Founding. The relationship of natural law to the establishment of this republic is an engaging historical topic, and its relevance to the American experiment on an ongoing basis is a matter most worthy of inquiry and discussion. Put at least me down as a subscriber to the theory that a judge who is an intellectual, a judge who reads and thinks and engages deeply on matters of history, philosophy, and government, provides a model and inspiration for others in the profession and society. There is so much else to admire about Bill Griesbach. Some of it is selfish on my part. He is wonderfully supportive of this law school, routinely appointing Marquette law graduates as his law clerks and making it a point to come down here from Green Bay to attend and meaningfully to engage in any number of our programs. This support makes a difference. Other reasons for admiring him have nothing to do with the legal profession. Bill Griesbach's dedication to his family and his service to the Catholic Church in a variety of ways are impressive. A decade or so ago, Judge Griesbach spoke at the Marquette Law Review banquet, and he selected as his topic the joy of law. To be sure, as he noted on the occasion, he was not so bold as to tell students about to study for exams about the joy of law school. But here is one of the things that he said that evening. Regardless of whether the role of lawyers as the guardians of tradition has changed, and regardless of whether, if it has, that change is on the whole a good or a bad thing, it remains true that lawyers play a predominant role in shaping the culture in which we live and in helping individuals and businesses achieve their goals and avoid or resolve the problems and disputes that inevitably arise in this complex, pluralistic nation oriented to the rule of law, representative government, and fundamental freedoms. Judge, would you please come up here as I finish? In those Marquette Law Review remarks, you proceeded to explain that, quote, it is in carrying out these roles, peacemaker, deal maker, counselor, advocate, that I believe attorneys can and should find true joy and fulfillment on a daily basis. It was a sophisticated suggestion, born of experience, and one to which I myself have returned on a number of occasions. So permit me to note that, although you elected not to become the professor that your father was here at Marquette University, you have taught in any number of ways many of us in the legal profession all the same. We hope that you will accept this award as Marquette Law School's Alumnus of the Year.
I gave all my time to Bill McEssy, so I do have to say some things, and I want to thank the board, thank Dean Kearney for this great honor. I'm honored to receive the Marquette University Alumni of the Year Award. I'm particularly honored to share in this award with my classmate and friend, Jim Wynn. You know, Jim has contributed a great deal to his adopted hometown here in Milwaukee, to the law school. And I marvel at this native of North Carolina who has also given so much to his community there. And as I was reflecting on both of us receiving this award, it came to me as how great his contributions are. And what I can offer is how great my debt is to Marquette University and to the law school. You know, Jim was from North Carolina, as I said, and I'm certain he had every reason to leave Marquette after the first year when a team then known as the Marquette Warriors defeated the North Carolina Tar Heels in the NCAA championship game of 1977. Of course, North Carolina has won enough since then that I'm sure but he had every reason to leave, and it would have been to our great loss. But it was quite different for me, for I am quite certain that were it not for Marquette University, I wouldn't be here. And I don't just mean that I wouldn't be on this stage receiving this award. I mean, I wouldn't exist. You see, my parents are both Marquette grads. My mother, 93 or 92 years old, came from California. This California girl came across the country in 1942 to study journalism at age 18, because the editor of the paper where she worked during the summer after her senior year said, they have a good journalism school. My father was from Menasha, about 60 miles to the north, and they met at Marquette in the journalism school. World War II broke out. My father went overseas, but they got married in between VE Day and what would have been my father going off to the Pacific Theater, but the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki while they were on their honeymoon ended the war. My father finished up his degree here at Marquette, and then he went on to get a PhD in philosophy at the University of Toronto. So as you can see, my parents, the chances of this California girl meeting this Wisconsin boy would have been pretty slim, but for Marquette University. And so you can see, I wouldn't have existed. Nor would my 11 brothers and sisters have existed. Many of them are here. I could take my time by naming them. And I could also name my 4 children and 9 grandchildren, but I won't. I just want to thank them all for being here, and from whom I've learned so much. My parents both believed strongly in the ideal of a Jesuit education and in the faith that animated that ideal. As I said, they met shortly before the outbreak of the war, and they infused us with that appreciation of education and our faith. And I obviously have much to be grateful for to my parents and to my brothers and sisters who have taught me so much by their example, by the way they've lived their lives. Especially, well, they're all unique, and I don't want to get into especially when you have 11 brothers and sisters. But it didn't end there. My father came back to Marquette, and he was here for 40 years teaching as a philosophy professor. It made it possible for me to attend Marquette, to gain an appreciation of what an education is, to begin learning, to begin an education on the things that matter most in life, that education has continued right up until this day. And it also enabled me to attend this wonderful law school, where I met a great number of wonderful people, many of the classmates who are here today, that are such an inspiration and have done so much. To listen to the work of these other recipients of these awards is just, it's very impressive and it's humbling. I'm left with the sense of the debt I owe to Marquette. But the debt doesn't stop with my existence or my education, because it also involves my own marriage. I met my wife here. She came from El Paso, Texas, to study theology. And that is perhaps the greatest gift I've received from my attendance at Marquette. Now, after 40 years with our 4 children, 2 of whom, by the way, are Marquette graduates, Marianne in physical therapy, Rachel, who's followed in her mother's footsteps and getting a master's in theology. So not only do I, in a real sense, owe my life to Marquette, I owe much of the education, and I owe the happiness I now have with my marriage. So as you can see, I already owe a great deal to Marquette. This award only adds to it. It's a debt I will never be able to repay, but I'm eternally grateful for. Thank you.
Thank you. Judge Jim Wynn, also of the class of 1979, will go last. He is accustomed to it. He once told me that growing up in rural North Carolina, with a last name beginning with W-Y, he was always last in alphabetical order. So it was a big surprise, he remarked, to come to Milwaukee, Wisconsin for law school and to find so many people after him in the alphabet. He had no idea, he said, that there were so many names that begin with Z. Jim Wynn returned to North Carolina after law school. He served the profession as a lawyer in private practice and public service. He served his state as a North Carolina Court of Appeals judge and Supreme Court justice. And he served his country through the Navy with 4 years of active duty in the Judge Advocate General Corps, followed by 26 years in the Navy Reserve before his retirement at the rank of captain. Throughout it all, as Judge Griesbach has suggested, Jim Wynn has never ceased to be of service to his faraway law school. I am hard-pressed to identify a way we have not deployed him. I myself first met him when, during my time as a junior faculty member, so Bill McEssy would say this is taking us back some years, he was here, well, in Sensenbrenner Hall anyway, to deliver our Hallows Lecture. Judge Wynn and I also engaged on that occasion in a public conversation about modes of judicial selection. It was, mercifully for me, not a debate, and I have reason to think that Judge Wynn may helpfully have pulled a punch or two that he might have thrown my way. More recently, he has judged our annual Jenkins Honors Moot Court Finals, delivered the remarks at our law review banquet, spoken at our hooding ceremony, and addressed any number of public gatherings here. This public representation of the law school is without question important. So too have been his private meetings with various of our students. And, I must say, any behind closed doors counsel that Judge Wynn has provided concerning the law school since his appointment several years ago as a member of Marquette University's Board of Trustees. It has been 39 years since Jim Wynn graduated from Marquette University and lived in Milwaukee, and yet his loyalty is not simply of some general sort, but such as carries him back to Milwaukee and Marquette several times a year to be of service. To be sure, his primary work is in the courts. Jim Wynn sits on the United States Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit. He almost did not have this opportunity. President Bill Clinton nominated him to the court in the late 1990s, and Jim Wynn would have been the first African American to serve on that federal regional court of appeals, headquartered in Richmond, Virginia, but for the refusal of North Carolina Senator Jesse Helms to permit a hearing, let alone a vote on the nomination. Fortunately for us, President Barack Obama renominated him more than a decade later. In between, Jim Wynn spent no time, wasted no energy, condemning Senator Helms or the process. You can comb the record on this, and all you will find is Jim Wynn doing his job on the state court in North Carolina and being of extensive service across the country. Jim Wynn is a class act. And since then, that is, since his unanimous confirmation by the Senate and his assuming the federal bench in 2010, Judge Wynn has become a nationally prominent jurist. You may recall the famous ruling in 2012 by the Supreme Court of the United States upholding the constitutionality of the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, if you prefer. Writing for a 5-4 court, Chief Justice Roberts held that the federal government had the authority to impose the individual mandate because it was an exercise of Congress's power with respect to taxes. This was a bit of a surprise. To understate a point, this theory, though successful, had not been the focus of the government's argument before the court. Had anyone foreseen this ruling in all the Affordable Care Act litigation leading to the Supreme Court? A single federal judge previously had made the taxing power point as a basis for upholding the legislation, Jim Wynn of the Fourth Circuit, as was noted at the time. The detail is interesting, but I give this to you primarily as an example. Because of the importance of the Fourth Circuit, encompassing, among other states, Maryland and Virginia, and thus encircling the nation's capital, Jim Wynn continues to engage as a judge with the great issues of the day, from partisan gerrymandering to executive branch travel bans. His opinions have become must-reads. Judge, would you please come up here? Judge, you have an extraordinary national profile. I have not even touched upon your leadership in such important organizations as the American Bar Association and your dedication to helping ensure that the state and federal judiciary is high quality, diverse, and independent. Yet through it all, you have gone out of your way to be connected with us. Still, your law school all these years later. And quite apart from the fact that as a trustee, you now have legal responsibility for it and for the rest of the university. Thank you for the honor that you thereby do us. You are inspiring.
Well, good evening to everyone. And Dean, I wish I could just take you all around the places that I speak to introduce me. I like your style, man. Before I begin these very brief remarks, something reminded me today as I was standing here. An old Southern politician said in one of those many campaigns, I'm sure you heard it many other places, he said, if you see a turtle sitting up on a fence, you know one thing, he didn't put himself up there. And that's pretty much my story. I have so many people to be thankful for the life that I've been able to enjoy, the career that I've been able to exercise, the kind of independence and hopefully judicial courage that I seek to do as a judge. I thank foremost my lovely wife, Jacqueline, who's sitting here, and my two sisters who are here, my sister Joan, my sister Angela, and her husband Arthur. Angela is grimacing at me because she knows more often than not she's introduced by me as my mother. And I particularly want to recognize Angela and her husband Arthur because today is their 53rd anniversary and they chose to speak it with me. And I'm so proud to have my next door neighbor, perhaps my best buddy, his daughter, whom I met many, many years ago when she was just a little, maybe a grade school child. Maybe she had just gotten a license, and the first question to me was, Judge, I got a ticket. How can I get rid of it? She went on to become a medical doctor, and she is now here in Wisconsin at the Children's Hospital here, along with her husband, Scott. They're both medical doctors. They're pediatric doctors, pediatric cardiologists, and they have taken time from their schedules to come here. Thank you, Susan and Scott, for doing that. And then there's my good buddy from Eastern North Carolina, who shows that even when you come from the tobacco fields of Eastern North Carolina, maybe you can make something out of yourself, George. That's George Kuntz, who played with the Green Bay Packers, and his lovely wife, Gina. Thank you, guys. But before Pete Cannon runs off to the Bucks game, I want to also recognize another wonderful group of folks. And I want to tell you about this because I want the students and others to hear this. You know, when you often ask, why in the world, you're right, Bill, I asked that first year, why in the world am I in Wisconsin from North Carolina, especially when it snowed on October the 12th here. But God has been good to me, and I will tell you it has been solely by the grace. And to have classmates like the class of 1979, so supportive, so continually trying to move to the next level, connecting even more so as we grow older, Joe. If you guys would just do me a favor and stand and be recognized as a class of 79, I really would appreciate that. Bill, I'm sure you would too. Stand with us, Bill. I can only tell you that next year is our 40th anniversary, and already John Rothstein has been unanimously selected to chair the committee, and we are on to quite a party when we come back, Dean. I want to thank Marquette, and I want to thank you in the most meaningful way, notwithstanding that championship that was lost in '76. And by the way, that has been one of the better things in life that I can say has been a negative thing that turned into just a wonderful thing. If University of North Carolina Chapel Hill is going to lose to anybody, let it be to Marquette, nobody else. But I enjoy just working with this university. We have a leadership team. The board here is just tremendous. The president is awesome. We are just forging ahead to have a dean of the law school here moving us into the next century, into this future that's before us. I love this university, not only for the scholarship, not only for the leadership, but the spirituality. I just love the Jesuit background. Father Wild knows that when I lost his bobblehead that he gave me, I said, he sent me another one, and it now sits up there in the cabinet. And that's an important part of this institution, is the fact that we are not just out trying to bring in students who will get a good education, but to make them good people and to make them God-fearing people, if I might add that. And I think that's politically correct at Marquette. But thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this wonderful, highly esteemed group of folks who've joined with me in this. Thank you, Dean. Thank you to the staff who keeps constant communication with us. Pete, you're free to go to the game, and go Bucks.
Let's give one final last round of applause to our wonderful award recipients. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight to help us honor these outstanding Marquette lawyers. This is the conclusion of our program, but we encourage you to stay, mingle, enjoy another appetizer or two. Good night, and thank you, everyone.